to me.
Right. Okay.
And she said, I've always been frightened of speaking at team meetings. But this week I wasn't frightened, and in fact they've always been on about me doing a presentation. I've always been terrified to do one. But this week I got up and I did one and I really enjoyed it. And she said I couldn't understand why I'd ever been afraid of it, why I'd ever been insecure about it. But the funny thing is we'd never worked on that with her. She never mentioned it. She never worked on it herself. It was her understanding of how life worked that just went to where it was needed and cleared that up. So as she saw these principles for herself more clearly, things start changing.
So she could kind of say it was okay to be nervous because, you know, how's that understanding of it just being a thought and that
She wasn't even nervous. It just went away.
Okay. So if we kind of turn that into your learning and your as you like got better as a coach, and how much time did you normally spend devoting to practicing your craft, and you know, how did you experience, what did you do to deal with failure throughout the time as a coach, especially in the early parts of it?
Well, early on, I went on lots of training, and I practiced a lot. You know, basically anyone who would allow me to work with them, I'd work with them. And so all my work colleagues, all my friends, all my family, I would practice. And how did I deal with failure? I mean, lots of things didn't work at the beginning, but I was a student of it. So I just used that as a reason to just keep trying different things.
Right, okay.
You know, I think people need to give themselves permission to, well, a couple of things. A, to be human, but if they're also seeing it as like, I'm going to fix you, that's just not a useful orientation. Whereas if you look at it more from a perspective of, we're going to explore together, and we're going to learn together, and we're going to discover together. I think a lot of times, Aaron, what I see is that coaches put their sense of their validity as a human being on success with the client. So it's almost like they go, oh, if the client gets their result they want, then that validates me, it validates my choice of career as a coach, it validates all the training I've done, it proves all the people who said I couldn't do it wrong. But if they don't achieve their result or get the change they want or whatever, that negates my validity as a human being. It means maybe I shouldn't be a coach, maybe my training wasn't good, Well, that is putting way too much pressure on the client to deal with your lack of insecurity. And so it's back to it's all seems really simple to me. It's back to the lack of insecurity thing. If you need the client to get a result in order for you to feel good about yourself, you're making it tough for the client. You know, they'll feel that. They'll feel that it's not about them, that it's about you. And it doesn't help them out, and it hurts them.
So not only are they dealing with their stuff, they're now dealing with your stuff as well.
Yeah, and you know what it's like? It's like having someone. It's the coaching equivalent of having someone to say to you, "Hey, can you please buy this? Because I need you to help me make my sales quota this month." Yeah. It's needy and it's yucky and it doesn't help anyone, and it's an illusion anyway. It's not real. You don't need anything to be okay. You don't need anything to be okay.
Okay.
But if you pretend you do, it'll mess with you.
And how long was it before you really got it where you could you felt that you could just do it on a whim and truly help someone? How long was it before that occurred?
Well, I don't know. I was making a difference in some cases early on, and not making a difference in other cases early on, and that continues to this day. It's still a learning process. It's still a process of developing. But I know that when I sit down with someone, if we have a conversation, things are going to change for them. Just know that. But I don't know when I think my confidence in that has increased with experience and with seeing the results and that sort of thing. You know, like you said, I've been doing this stuff for a while. I started exploring NLP in '96, so that's 15 years ago, and my journey's evolved in a bunch of different ways. But so, you get a feel for it. You get a feel for it, but you get a feel for it by doing it and by exploring and by learning. You don't get a feel for it by building intellectual models about it.
Okay. And throughout your coaching, learning and things like that, who have been your inspirations and to get you where you are today?
Oh, lots of people. So you mentioned Michael Neal earlier. Michael, I remember when his book, funnily enough, his daily coaching tips were an inspiration for me to start writing.
Right,
and then his first, You Can Have What You Want, was like the book I wished I'd written. It was such an amazing book for me. I loved that book.
Yeah.
So Michael Neal, obviously in the early days, the guys who started NLP, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, but more recently in my NLP career, Michael Watson and Chris Hall have been big inspirations. Then over the last few years, people in the Three Principles community. So Sydney Banks, who was the guy who first, discovered or uncovered these principles, and then a whole bunch of my mentors, including Aaron Turner and Keith Blevins and George and Linda Pransky, Kathy Casey, Dickon Bettinger, Sandy Crott. There's all kinds of people who really make a big difference to me. Mark Gleason. Lots of people who are just really impacting me, and I'm learning from Chip Chipman. Just people who have a deep understanding of these principles and are sharing them with other people.
Brilliant. So we're nearing the end of the interview now, and if I was to ask a final question, it would be, if you were to do it all over again, knowing what you know now, what would be the main things you'd focus on to become a top coach?
I'd go straight for the Three Principles. Funnily enough, I was introduced to these principles about 12 years ago, and I dismissed them.
Yeah, you had your chance.
Yep. And it's sort of like, I have to laugh at it, but I know that if I'd seen the opportunity I was being presented with back then, then I would have discovered all kinds of things and had all kinds of things, and had a much richer experience of life. But having said that, you can never go back. There's no regret about it, but it's sort of like, I'm like sort of, that was down to me thinking I knew it all already, thinking that I had it was down to me being a bit of an NLP fundamentalist at the time,
right.
rather than recognizing the richness of variety and possibility that's out there. And that's no failing of NLP. That's absolutely down to my mindset and where I was at the time back in 98, 99. But I would definitely, if I could do it all over again and knew what I know now, I'd definitely focus on the Three Principles. I'd make that the core of what I'm doing, because I can see the power in that to change lives and to change the world.
Okay. And what are your future plans after the Three Principles University? Are you looking to spread the Three Principles even further, or?
Yeah, I just want to help get it out there to the world. I genuinely see this as a new paradigm for psychology and a new possibility for human evolution. As I look at it, Aaron, I can see that the majority of the problems that we face in the world today are down to superstition and misunderstanding, nothing else.
Right.
That literally, you remember that misunderstanding I was telling you about, the idea that our beautiful feelings come from our circumstances, and that our unpleasant feelings are caused by our circumstances. That misunderstanding is widespread. Like, you could talk to the next 10 people you speak to in the street, and none of them would see that as a misunderstanding, and yet it is. It's a fundamental misunderstanding about how life works. And you can trace that misunderstanding to the root of virtually all the serious problems we're facing as a species. And the funny thing is, it's just a misunderstood signal, a misinterpreted signal. If you look at things like the Gulf oil disaster, the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster, these were the official reports of these said it is down to a misinterpreted signal. And that's exactly what's going on with this misunderstanding. So I want to share this with the world and help it get out there in whatever way I can, because it's the best bet I can see for the kind of future that we all pretty much want.
Fantastic. Well, that concludes the interview, Jamie. Thanks a lot for it. It was really interesting, and I know a lot of people are going to listen to this and find it interesting as well.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's good to talk to you, Aaron. Thanks for asking me.
Absolutely. Well, I'll see you later.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.